Continuing our series of interviews with candidates running for governor, we are happy to have Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan join us this afternoon. Mr. Mayor, it's always good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Hey, it's our pleasure. Before we start talking about the governor's race, I thought I'd give you just a chance maybe to share your thoughts about transitioning the leadership in Detroit to Mayor-elect Mary Sheffield, her historic election.
Yeah, she's going to do a great job. And it came in 12 years ago in a city that had half the street lights out. Police didn't show up, highest murder rate in the country, highest unemployment rate in the country. Mary Sheffield came in as a city council member the same time I came in. And for 12 years, I've had good cooperation. And I think the people of Detroit decided they want to continue what we have going. So I was really pleased to see the margin of her win.
You have spent 3 terms as mayor, and you've brought the city through a very difficult time coming out of bankruptcy. You've really ushered in a new era of growth. How do you take that success at the city level and bring it to Lansing and expand it statewide?
Well, I was a kid who grew up in Detroit, and as you know, we watched in our lifetime everything we knew be taken away from us, from the auto plants to the banks, the movie theaters to the stores. And as Detroit was sliding farther and farther into bankruptcy, it was the fighting, the us versus them with the politicians, black versus white, city versus suburbs, that was tearing us apart. And I ran on a campaign platform that said we can build a city where we get rid of us versus them politics. And it really has been what's defined Detroit's comeback. But I looked at Lansing today, and I have never seen it so toxic between the two parties. And you know what's happening in our economic development strategies. We have a plant, we don't have a plant. Our schools, 60% of our third graders don't read at grade level, and every 2 years the legislature changes the standards and the curriculums. I just felt like we need to change politics in Lansing, and maybe I'd give it a try.
There's been a lot said about you making the decision to leave the Democratic Party and make this run as an independent. Why do you think that gives you an advantage over the other candidates and makes you the right choice for governor in 2026?
Because this state is so evenly divided. Every 2 years, we're switching back Republicans, Democrats in charge. And even if one party gets the advantage and does something, 2 years later, the other party gets the advantage and undoes it. And so you end up going from 19th in the country in third grade reading to 44th, because we just keep flipping back and forth. And I looked at this and said, if I run as a Democrat, it'd be a lot easier to win. But when I got there, I'd have the same us versus them politics. All the Republicans would be mad at me because I tried to beat them in their state rep and state Senate races. There's a faction on the far left side of the Democratic Party that's never been big supporters of mine anyway. And I thought the only way we are going to change the direction of this state is if we make change in a unified way from the middle. And I felt like the only way to change politics as usual was to get out of the two parties and see if people wanted a third choice.
A little nugget that people may not realize is that 12 years ago, 13 years ago, when you were running for mayor, you really weren't the establishment candidate. You were a write-in the first time around. Was that campaign similar to what you're doing now, or is there any kind of connection we can make there?
Of course, when I got into the race, there hadn't been a white candidate for mayor of Detroit in 40 years, and the city was 83% African American. As you say, 2 judges threw me off the ballot for filing my petitions 2 weeks too early, and I ran as a write-in. But Detroiters knew they wanted change, and it was obviously unexpected that a white guy running as a write-in would win in a landslide. But you're right, statewide, people want change. And I think as I get a chance to get around to the state and say, here's why I think the parties are failing you, and here's why I think it's time to have a third choice, people are responding.
By my own observations, and I really don't have anything to back this up, it's just what I've noticed. It would appear that you've had a lot of support from both sides.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knew you as a Democrat. You were almost, to sort of use some common vernacular, attached at the hip to former President Joe Biden at times.
Right.
But you still had support from both sides in helping you, move the city forward. Is that fair?
Yeah, I grew up in a house. My dad was a federal judge appointed by Ronald Reagan. And we weren't afraid to go home for Thanksgiving. We thought these debates were fun and vibrant. And you're right. But in the time that I've been mayor, there's strong support from the business community, strong support from the unions, and we're seeing that now. The polling's all showing half my support is from the Republicans, half my support is from the Democrats. And that's the plan, is win 20% from the Republicans, 20% from the Democrats, and win this election with 40% of the vote. And that's the track we're on.
Everybody knows you as the mayor of Detroit. You get outside of Metro Detroit, and some people think that, they may not know who you are. What are you hearing from folks as you travel the state, these other areas, up north, to the west?
Every place I go where somebody's visited Detroit, they say, oh my God, I can't believe how much progress you made. I can't believe the buildings. I can't believe I can walk around. It's safe. We have the lowest crime rate in 60 years. I can't believe the riverfront, which is now really the finest in the country. And then there are others who haven't been to Detroit in 20 years. And they tend to show up because they're getting tired of the two parties and they want to see what an independent candidate's about. And so I get a mix of both. But January 1, I will be out of the mayor's office and I'll be campaigning outstate, and I'll be in every small town and village there is. And I'll be back again and again.
A lot of accomplishments that you've made over 12 years in Detroit in terms of improving safety, improving some of the infrastructure, making life affordable for citizens. These are some of the things you really do highlight on your website as well. People are buying homes, and those homes are appreciating in value. What are your plans statewide in dealing with some of the major issues in this state? Education, infrastructure, even agricultural issues.
I'm spending a lot of time on farms. I'm spending a lot of time in small towns. And the interesting thing is, every place I go, we're ignored, we're forgotten. What does the mayor of Detroit know about us? And I said, let me tell you about representing folks who feel like they were ignored and forgotten. I represent a mom with 2 kids on a block with 4 abandoned houses, no street lights, overgrown park, and the police don't show up. We didn't make excuses, we solved the problems. Let's talk about your issue. And people say, maybe I have more in common with the people of Detroit than I thought. And it becomes a really powerful conversation. But the fact that we were able to bring a 5,000 employee Jeep plant and 10 new auto plants with $10 billion of investment to a city that was down, people say there's a way to do this. But I didn't spring deals out of some back room and drop them on the community. We rebuilt the businesses in Detroit by having community participation. And I think people around the state are ready to say, we want jobs, but we don't want somebody telling us what they're going to impose on us. We want to be part of the process, and that's what we've done in Detroit.
Do you have a position on some of these job growth type of developments that have been talked about, that have been kind of controversial? The battery plants, the mega sites? In Detroit, we have never given away cash up front for a business. I don't believe in it. But what we have said for 12 years is, if you're going to build on a vacant lot or in a vacant building, we'll give you discounts on the new taxes that you pay. City Council has backed us, and that's why we have $10 billion. The train station has been redone, a 45-story building on the abandoned Hudson site, one after another. I think the way the state has gone about some of these, by saying to people, you get a huge check up front before you built anything, was not the right strategy. I think it's obvious now it's not the right strategy. But we want to go forward with what's worked in Detroit, which is, we'll support you when you come to our state, but you earn that break as you build and as you hire people, no money up front. And I think most people would support that. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions, one serious and one light. The serious one, education. You put a very keen focus on education on your website, your campaign site. You say that education in this state is broken. Explain that to the voters, and what's your plan to improve things?
When the voters in 1994 passed Proposal A and we raised the sales tax from 4 cents to 6 cents, they were promised that money would go to the K-12 school system in this state. And over the years, the legislature has diverted $1.3 billion a year from the school aid fund. At the same time, the reading rate in this country in this state has gone to near the bottom of the country. I'm saying we need to honor the promise. Move all of the school aid money back to the schools. We need to expand career technical education, which was also gutted in that process. And we're going to hold the principals and the superintendents accountable. We'll give them the money, we'll give them the authority, but they're either going to have to deliver or they're going to be replaced. And so the idea that you put in more money but you hold them accountable, at least where I'm out, most voters in this state agree with that.
It's been a long time since Detroit's 4 professional sports teams have had so much success. We are watching the Tigers, who would just come off a great season. The Pistons and Red Wings are off to a hot start. The Lions have really rebuilt themselves. Is this going to be the year for Detroit sports?
Yeah, well, I'm telling Mary Sheffield, if the Lions win on Thanksgiving, I will be turning over to her a city where with the first place Lions, the first place Pistons, and the first place Red Wings, and it's up to her.
Understood. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for spending time with us. We appreciate it.
Great to see you.
Good luck with everything.